So far on Resident Evil Designs Ranked, we've been covering the do-gooders and heroes of the series, and I think it's time to switch things up. And who better than to start with than the highlight villain of the series. Hello my fellow oddities and welcome to every Albert Wesker design ranked worst to best. Oh yeah, and we have a special guest today.
How's it going, my evil residents? I am better than Starlight. I make Resident Evil / survival horror / zombie game content, and I am here to talk about one of my favorite villains in history. Not even just in gaming history, in history. Albert Wesker. I'm not going to jump in for every entry, just ones that I have a strong opinion on or I feel I have something to add. But this whole ranking is Uncommon Oddities, and thank you very much for having me on.
Firstly, let's reiterate the rules for anyone who hasn't seen the previous videos. The first rule is that I will only be ranking designs from Resident Evil games. This means no comics, movies, or TV shows, or any crossover appearances in other game franchises. The second rule is that I will not be ranking any repeated or reused designs, so if a design is brought back in a later title or remake, I will only be referring to it once from its original appearance. And the third and final rule is no Resident Evil mobile games, only console releases. So without further ado, Wesker has 10 designs to cover, so let's dive right in. Coming in at the bottom spot, number 10, I have the original Wesker design from the original Resident Evil. I want to preface this list by saying I don't think there's a single bad Wesker design. This last place is simply a battle of who is the least good, and I just had to go with this. It's not boring necessarily, just not very inspired or memorable. Nothing really stands out about it, it's even more basic and simple than the average STARS uniform, and it's basically all one color with varying shades. Yeah, I know Wesker is usually just all black, but this is a very specific muddy bluish gray that doesn't work nearly as well without the support of additional colors to contrast. The glasses are also aviators instead of the narrow ones he's known for now, and that just kind of throws me off a bit. I know people rage when you put the classic designs low, I'm not sure why, cause don't you want things to get better over time? But I don't think too many people should be mad with me putting this at the bottom, cause there's really not much it has going for it compared to everything else on this list. Though, if they made the hair as aggressively yellow as it is in the live action cutscenes, automatic number 1. At number 9, for a similar reason, I have RE4 Remake Wesker. This one is definitely more disappointing than the last one, I'd say. I expect a bit more after nearly 30 years of this character's existence and his first appearance in the RE engine. But it is slightly better cause even though it's still a little bit basic, I can see what they're going for. It's a fusion of the original RE4 design, but also the STARS outfit from the remake of RE1. You can see, structurally and especially color-wise, it pulls those aspects from the STARS uniform, but style and aesthetic wise, it has the suit and professionalism of RE4. So I like that, but wouldn't it make more sense for a Code Veronica remake, since I can't really see Wesker going from this straight into the RE5 design? That seems like a jarring jump. Also, this is super duper nitpicky, but I do not like the shape of his head. I'm sorry. I just don't. I mean no disrespect to the face model, but Wesker usually has a long, skinny face. This is too wide and thick. I do not like blockhead Wesker.
I think the main thing that's off about Resident Evil 4 Remake Wesker's default outfit and the alternate outfit they give him proves this a lot, is that it's not black, it's gray. Wesker doesn't really wear gray very much, and if he does, it's just because the game just kind of has a washed out color palette, but it's still black. And especially as a pre-RE5 Wesker, he's got to be wearing black. He wore black in Code Veronica. Why would he shift away from that to his previous, less insane colors from Resident Evil 1 Remake, and then go back to RE5 wearing all black? They can leave the shirt blue, but this suit needed to have a black vest, black pants, and I mean like jet black. Yeah, it's gonna be a little too fancy for what he's doing, but he's Wesker, he doesn't care.
At number 8, I have his trenchcoat design he wears very briefly during the Umbrella's end stage of Umbrella Chronicles. This design is cool as a precursor to what would become Wesker's most iconic design, since this one introduces the trenchcoat. It's definitely very different from what we're used to. This one is much more snug, thicker, and looks very comfortable and more functional since he wears it while walking through the snow. The big thing about this one that puts it lower for me though is the inside of the trenchcoat being blue. I don't like how that looks at all. It takes me out of the whole design. Just complete black would have been great. If you have to have some sort of color there, then either a darker blue or purple, maybe even red, I would have preferred to this. Besides the trench coat, it's just the RE4 design, so yeah, perfectly fine and a neat prototype of sorts. At number 7, I have the final boss Ouroboros Wesker from RE5. I really like how they didn't just go full blob mode and make Wesker an unidentifiable mass like they usually do. It makes this much more memorable and fits Wesker a lot better. The design of Ouroboros is so interesting to me, the way it's constantly shifting rapidly. It gives me the same vibe as those videos of like meat pulsating. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about or if that even makes sense, but I quite like it. The large fragments lodged inside him also make his silhouette very cool looking and break up the design quite nicely, so it's not just Wesker but gross. I do think if you compare it to Birkin or Sadler, hell even Gideon, not the Nemesis form, the one before that, I'm not sure it stacks up to being as memorable or cool as them, and it's certainly a downgrade from his other designs in this game, but it's serviceable as a final boss form of Wesker. At number 6, I have Zeno. Yes, I know for some that I have some explaining to do. Firstly, this isn't even the real Wesker, so should he be on this list? Some would argue that'd be like putting Molino on a Katana Designs rank. Well, I had to get this video to 10 designs somehow. Plus, it's not like I'm ever gonna do a Zeno Designs ranked, am I? And secondly, Zeno being this high above a few actual Wesker designs. I did consider just putting him straight at the bottom because he literally isn't even Wesker, but that felt a little cheap, so I'm putting him on the list normally and giving this design the respect it deserves, cause it's quite good. I love the white and black instead of just black. That along with the glasses and gloves makes this feel like a more prestigious, posh Wesker, which gives Zeno a more unique visual identity. Unfortunately, that's his only unique anything. I also love the trench coat on this one because he's not actually wearing it. It's kind of just draped over his shoulders, and that makes his silhouette so much more imposing and cool. The one thing I don't like is his hair. It seems a bit too thin. I don't know, that's just a nitpick. So all things considered, this not actually being Wesker, and me not liking Zeno very much at all, it's a great design. At number 5, I have his Code Veronica design. Some people might be upset that I have this so much higher than the RE1 design when really they aren't that different, but this one just has a different aura to it. That's not my actual reasoning, I do have things to talk about. This one is just much more villainous, which makes sense. It feels like you're seeing Wesker's true colors, and in more ways than one, because this one is now just all black instead of that muddy blue. It's also a little more tactical, having pouches and straps, and I love the boots on this one. Those are fire. He's also got the narrow sunglasses and the red eyes here, which added a lot to Wesker's lore and mystique that would carry with him for the rest of his designs. An issue I have with this design is the same thing I said for Chris's Code Veronica design, and it's that he looks too young. His face is too smooth, which is just a weird thing Code Veronica does with people's faces. Like, you have more polygons now. Use them!
I agree with Oddity that the Code Veronica Wesker design is better than the original, and I think there's two main reasons for that. One is he no longer has the big ass high-waisted belt with the big ass belt buckle. If you look at the original RE1 Wesker sprite, halfway through his vest, he has this giant belt on, and it looks so odd on him, and it makes him look really like stocky. And then he's also wearing short sleeves with a gray shirt under his black shirt, and it just makes him look like a kid. It makes him actively less scary because of how it frames his body. And I know he's a polygonal man with less polygons than Lady Dimitrescu's ass, but all of these things, even if you up-res the costume, still make him look less imposing just because of the way that they frame him. Whereas with Code Veronica Wesker, he's black head to toe. He has his sleeves rolled up just so they're out of his way, but otherwise he has long sleeves on, doesn't have that giant belt, and overall it looks way better. And I agree that these glasses fit Wesker better than the aviators do. So I agree, this outfit is a straight upgrade from his Resident Evil 1 outfit, and I would argue it's his second best outfit, but I will leave it at that.
At number 4, I have the RE1 remake Wesker design. Just a way better version of his original Stars outfit. Much more detailed, much more clear in what it is and what it's going for, plus it adds some of the features from Code Veronica, such as the more tactical vests and narrow glasses. What's funny to me is despite being undercover, Wesker actually has the most realistic and accurate police uniform out of Stars. Man is just really committed to the act. I have to respect it. But this has a much more contrasting blue color than the original, it has a walkie-talkie, an earpiece, it doesn't have weird bright colors like the other Stars uniforms, it could 100% pass for a police officer, and I just think that's funny. I think the most effective thing about this design is how it feels a little bit like the Terminator T-800, where depending on how you look at it, you can either see it as a terrifying evil maniac or a stoic action hero. That way, you can't be 100% convinced off the jump that Wesker is a villain, because maybe he's just some really cool, badass dude. But no, Wesker has become too iconic, no one is falling for that shit. At number 3, I have the battle suit from Resident Evil 5. This one is obviously very iconic because it's the one he wears during the 7-minute sequence, plus it was used in RE0's Wesker mode, and I'm glad it is because it is quite neat. It's much more breathable and movable than the trenchcoat version, which even though that means his stylish super speed moves aren't as flashy, it makes more sense, so feels a little bit more authentic. It also just gives this vibe of, I'm just here to take care of business. When I see Wesker in this, it feels like I'm sick of this shit and I want it over with. Maybe that's because that's quite literally what he's thinking during this sequence, but hey, good job at transferring that to the design itself. I also love how there are straps on it that from the front look like, oh, he's wearing a backpack or has some sort of weapon or something he needs to hold on his back. Nope. The straps just go around and are completely useless. Purely for aesthetics. Very Wesker-like. But yeah, I'll save some of my other points for the more complete version of this design. At number 2, I have RE4 Original Wesker. This design was also in the remake, where I think it looks quite good as well, but the original is just built different. Literally, I'm still not over the head thing. This one was kind of a catalyst for a new vibe from Wesker. While Code Veronica made him feel more evil, this one really established that coldness and professionalism that, let's be honest, is pretty performative from Wesker, but damn does it make for some badass designs. Out of all Wesker designs, this one feels the most mysterious to me. Even though Code Veronica and RE4 are like right next to each other in the timeline, at the time RE4 came out, it had been a while since we got an update on present day Wesker. So when he comes back somewhat unexpectedly, wearing this vastly different uniform, it made you wonder and imagine what changed and what we could expect going forward. It also just has that perfect balance that every Wesker design must strive for, of being just as badass and intimidating as it is a little goofy and cheesy. But at the number 1 spot, come on, from the moment I started a Resident Evil design ranking series, you could have seen this coming, the RE5 trenchcoat design. The first thing I love about this outfit is the carbon fiber texture. It's one of those designs, kind of like the quilt pattern on Mortal Kombat Ninjas, where when you see it, your eyes just kind of pop and lock onto it, and it feels so satisfying, and is very Wesker in how flashy it is, and functional as well. The big addition here is the trench coat, which just makes all his movements and his silhouette so cool as he walks, runs, or dashes. Hell, he'd probably still look cool skipping around like a little girl. I also think the glasses look the best here out of any other design. They almost seem more reflective like mirrors than they are just black, which is such a cool touch and makes for some badass shots. And the same thing goes for the rest of the outfit. Carbon fiber is very shiny, so it kind of gives the whole thing a nice glimmer to it. And yeah, I have nothing more to say. This design is the most iconic one for a reason. Inject that RE5 remake into my veins because I need to see this in the RE engine with modern day lighting and textures.
I think my favorite thing about Resident Evil 5 Wesker's outfit, this counts for the coat and his just regular fit. It looks like a tarp in the best way possible. This outfit is not leather like a lot of people think it is. I've talked about this before in other videos where I've talked about Wesker's outfit, which is oddly a lot for some reason. But he's wearing a sort of like carbon fiber woven material, and it's such a random material choice that you never see on a character, and it's awesome. I pray, if they remake RE5, or if/when, please do not ditch this fabric choice. It's so perfect for Wesker. And given Wesker doesn't need a bunch of equipment and things like that, it does its job and it works well and it looks really cool. But let's be honest, he's probably sloshing around in this outfit. The sweat from his body is pooling inside his outfit, and you hear him sloshing around as he walks in the hot African heat. What a man. What a committed guy.
And that'll do it. Huge shout out to Better Than Starlight for featuring in today's video. Where can the oddities find you and your content?
Thank you very much, Oddity, for having me on the channel. You can find me also on YouTube at Better Than Starlight. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thanks again, Starlight, for appearing today. I really appreciate it. And I'd also appreciate if you let me know your favorite and least favorite Wesker designs from this list in the comments down below. Subscribe and leave a like if you want, and that's wraps on this one, my fellow oddities. I'll see you next time.